This week, our guest co-host and I are going to talk to Rafiya Tasmin, our Steminista of the week. Rafiya is a Bengali-American aerospace engineer. After graduating from Georgia Tech, she currently is working at Lockheed Martin Aero as a fluid mechanical and armament engineer. Our guest co-host today is Jimmy Tang, a first-year graduate student pursuing a doctorate in Aerospace Engineering. He works in research in the field of structural analysis, specifically using finite element modeling to analyze different aspects of aircraft as well as modeling the behaviors of composite materials. In his free time, he enjoys learning to cook food from cuisines around the world and going to sushi buffets. Hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the show, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Very happy to have you here as our co-host. So the co-hosts get to choose the projects, or I guess people they want to co-host the episodes for. So can you tell us a little bit more about why you chose this project?
Yeah, so Rafi and I have been friends for a while, and we were in the same club together during undergrad. And now that I chose to be going in the grad school path, and Rafia's working at Lockheed, I wanted to see, what has she been up to, and, all that kind of stuff, so.
Well, this is very exciting, so why don't we call her up and see what she's been up to. Thank you so much for joining us, Rafiya. I'm very excited to have you on the show, as well as Jimmy, our esteemed co-host for today. So can you tell me a little bit more about your background and where you come from and how you've gotten to where you are today?
I actually grew up until 5th grade in Bangladesh, and then moved to New York from then until high school. And then I went to Georgia Tech for college, and I studied aerospace engineering.
Obviously, it's like space or planes, right?
Yeah. So aerospace, if you want to be general and divide it into categories, there are usually 3 categories. There's fixed wing, rotorcraft, and space. And, you can delve into in-depth from there on. I'm working on fixed wing because I'm...
Okay, that's awesome. So why aerospace? Why?
So my high school, funny thing is my high school had majors. So I was actually an aerospace major. So the reason why I picked that major was because I was interested in astrophysics, and that was the only class that had two astrophysics classes. But, it's an aerospace class, so they had intro to aerodynamics class in it. So, aerospace, then on, I realized aerospace is kind of like a specialized version of mechanical engineers.
Yeah.
So a mechanical engineer usually doesn't deal with aerodynamics, whereas an aerospace engineer deals with that. And many other more, but that's one of the major.
So I'm still reeling over the fact that you did astrophysics in high school.
Well,
that's kind of crazy.
It was very introduction class. It wasn't learning about quantum mechanics or anything.
Okay. I know there's still, we're just gonna take a short side note here. I know there's a lot of confusion about the difference between astrophysics and astronomy.
Oh yeah.
So what's the difference?
So astronomy gives you a general big picture. Astrophysics goes in depth and kind of zooms in and analyzes, how does that happen? How does a star how is born and then dead in several billion years? How does that happen? So looking at those tiny particles, dark matters, blah blah blah. That's the aspect of astrophysics. Whereas astronomy is looking at the general universe and
Okay. All right. So why don't you tell me a little bit more about coming to Tech? Did you work on any specific projects, aerospace projects at Tech that are really cool?
So
or teams that you worked on?
Yeah. So Jimmy and I, we worked in Design Build Fly. It's a club, but at Tech you can also take it as a class. And it's a competition club Do you want to explain a bit better?
Sure. Yeah, so this is Jimmy. So the Design Build Fly team is an aircraft building competition. So we work on essentially building fixed wing aircraft. So you're not allowed to build any helicopters or rockets in this club, but you take an idea or essentially it's a set of requirements, and you build an aircraft and design it, you test it, and then you fly it for competition.
That's amazing. Oh my,
Yeah.
wait, you guys built like whole aircrafts?
Yeah. From
Oh my gosh.
preliminary design to actually, if your aircraft doesn't fly, you're basically getting so Design Build Fly, the club does 2 different competitions, or
Yeah, exactly.
Did it change?
Yeah, so we compete in the SAE Aero East or West, so that's hosted by the Society of Automotive Engineers, and then we also do another competition that's hosted by AIAA, and we essentially build around 3 aircraft per year for these separate competitions, and the SAE competition specifically has different classes that you compete in.
Wow.
And I guess, Rafiya, if you want to explain more of like what you worked on,
The different
specifically
classes.
DBF, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a advanced, regular, and micro class. So for me, I worked on advanced class, and I've been with this competition, advanced, specifically only on advanced class, since sophomore year.
That's like how many years?
2014.
That's been 4 years.
It's been a while, but yeah, it was from sophomore year until I graduated, basically. So when you first, advanced class is basically you build an aircraft, gas powered engine aircraft, and the goal is to carry a certain amount of payload, and dropping those payload you only have 2 limited laps, dropping those payload at a target, and there is different zones. So zone 1 is, I forgot the diameter.
Oh, it's I'm not really sure what that specific. It's very tiny though. It's probably about a meter across.
Yeah, but it changes. Zone 1 is the smaller diameter. Zone 2 is a little bit bigger than that. Zone 3 is out. But if you hit zone 1, you get the highest point.
So kind of think about it like it's a dartboard. The dart is the airplane carrying the payload, or I guess more accurately would be the payload. The bullseye is zone 1, which has the highest amount of points. Then the larger concentric circles will be the next zones. So zone 2 would be the triple ring, and zone 3 would be the double ring.
You have to write a report for it. How did you come about this idea? What changes you have made? If your school has competed over years, which our school has. So that's a report, and then you have to present in front of 4 or 5.
Yeah. It's a panel of judges.
But these judges are from different companies. They're real life engineers judging you. And then you do the flight, and I believe there are three rounds, right?
Well, for SAE, they call you in different waves, and they just keep calling waves until they're over. But I think one of the really cool things about Design Build Fly is that a lot of the people who come in really have no idea how to build an aircraft. So, can you expand a little more about, your own personal journey? Because, by the end, since we were in the same club together, by the end, you were a lead on the advanced class team. So,
that's amazing.
But of course, you start out with very little knowledge. When I came in, I didn't know how to cut a piece of wood with a knife, but obviously you learn. So, can you explain a little bit more about that?
So, the way, we have built our advanced class aircraft is with balsa wood.
Balsa wood is a very soft and light wood. It has low density and it's high in strength. And because of that, it makes it very popular for light, stiff structures in model bridge tests, model buildings, and for the construction of model aircrafts, like the one that Rafiya uses.
But we do use some parts of it. We do use fiberglass. And then, but then balsa wood, it's light. Therefore, you're having less drag, and you can carry a lot of weight, the payload weight. So we do, do a lot of construction with wood, like Jimmy was saying. And one of the difficult thing it's very time consuming because we do use laser cutter to cut the wood, but just installing those wood at, like 1/16 of an inch close, you know, the tolerance is 1/16 of an inch. And because if you make, for example, we were off by 2 inches at a certain point because it just built up. Yeah. And thank God we caught it, but we had to correct it because that takes off point. And actually you're disqualified if your drawing changes, because you have to submit your drawing. Yeah. And they like overall they check like the length, the width, and the height. So, but yeah, like it's painstaking. And when I first started, it was just learning how to, install and cut wood and whatnot, and try to use the laser cutter, how to CAD. I did know how to CAD before, but this is very different.
Yeah, right. I'll imagine like not to this extent.
Yeah, so, and we don't build just one aircraft. We build, at least 4 or 3 aircrafts just for flight tests. We do. Wow. So far, we have been doing around like 50 flight tests, if not 60.
There's a flight field outside of Atlanta that we go to.
Hold on. Are these like full aircrafts that you can, like, a human can fly?
Oh, no.
Okay.
They're
because, like, that's what I thought, but, like, I wasn't sure for a second.
No, they're, like, 12 feet wingspan.
Okay.
But it's,
so
like, big.
How are they, like, I imagine you have some type of controller?
Yeah. In the controls, you're basically trying to map out, where your target is and when to drop that target. There's several factors. There's wind factor, altitude factor, bunch of factors, right? Yeah. So you have to input those, and live input, also GPS. That was my sophomore year.
So tell me about your proudest moment in AE.
My first would be like kind of a win experience would be advanced class. Like,
of course.
After we won,
still mind blown.
First,
how is working in industry now in AE versus like being in college in AE?
It's very different, and it kind of evolved. So I've learned from research, a little bit that a little bit of professionalism, like writing emails and whatnot, and how to put a PowerPoint properly. And then my internship at my co-op was an experience of also kind of, interacting with different departments. You kind of don't do it in college.
Oh, yeah.
So handling a department or a section of an engine, that was my job. It's kind of nerve-wracking, right? Because if you screw something up and you're signing off, that's scary, right?
Yeah, that is terrifying.
There's like that, you double-check your work.
Yeah.
Where, in college you're learning, right? You can
there's room for error.
You're trying to absorb information because you're like a clean slate almost.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So for you, I guess you had experience in your college of both research and you had work experience as well. So here, of course, you've chosen to work full time. So like, I know there's some people out there that might be deciding, or maybe they may be a junior in college or senior in college, they're trying to decide on whether or not they want to go full time or go into maybe grad school to pursue the research route. So can you expand a little more on like why did you choose to go into industry versus continuing with a master's?
Yeah, I applied for master's at Georgia Tech and I got in, and so I wasn't sure what specific route that I wanted to go into. I wanted to kind of understand what the industry demands, what the industry wants, or what the industry is looking for innovation that I can spend my time doing masters and kind of gain that knowledge, so I can provide that.
That's
knowledge.
really smart. Yeah. So are you planning on going to pursue a higher degree at some point?
Yeah, for sure. Lockheed and a lot of companies now has rotational program. So probably going to do that next year. Yeah. And trying to rotate around different departments.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Well, I hope
hope you've enjoyed the episode so far. We're just going to take this moment to pay an homage to the women who have paved the way for us to be here today. So welcome to our Steministas in History segment. Today, we're going to be talking about Marie Curie, because there is no way we're going to talk about Steministas in History without talking about my girl, Marie. So, she was born Maria Sklodowska on November 7, 1867. She became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize and the first person, man or woman, to win the award twice. Curie's efforts with her husband Pierre led to the discovery of polonium and radium, and after Pierre's death, the further development of X-rays. She died on July 4th, 1934. A top student in her secondary school, Curie could not attend the men's-only University of Warsaw. She instead continued her education in Warsaw's Floating University, a set of underground informal classes held in secret. Both Curie and her sister Bronia dreamed of going abroad to earn an official degree, but they lacked the financial resources to pay for more schooling. Undeterred, Curie worked out a deal with her sister. She would work to support Bronia while she was in school, and Bronia would return the favor after she completed her studies. For roughly 5 years, Curie worked as a tutor and a governess. She used her spare time to study, reading about physics, chemistry, and math. In 1891, Curie finally made her way to Paris and enrolled at the Sorbonne. She threw herself into her studies, but this dedication had a personal cost. With little money, Curie survived on buttered bread and tea, and her health sometimes suffered because of her poor diet. Curie completed her master's degree in physics in 1893 and earned another degree in mathematics the following year. Marie Curie discovered radioactivity, and together with her husband Pierre, the radioactive elements polonium and radium, while working with the mineral pitchblende. After they met, they became a scientific dynamic duo who were completely devoted to one another. At first, Marie and Pierre worked on separate projects, but after Marie discovered radioactivity, Pierre put aside his own work to help her with her research. Fascinated with the work of Henri Becquerel, a French physicist who discovered that uranium casts off rays weaker than the X-rays found by Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen. I'm not sure if I'm butchering all these names, by the way. I'm really sorry if I am. I'm having fun just trying to say them, honestly. Marie Curie took his work a few steps further. Curie conducted her own experiments on uranium arrays and discovered that they remained constant no matter the condition or form of the uranium. The rays, she theorized, came from the element's atomic structure. This revolutionary idea created the field of atomic physics. Curie herself coined the word radioactivity to describe the phenomena. Following Marie's discovery of radioactivity, she continued her research with her husband. Working with the mineral pitchblende, the pair discovered a new radioactive element in 1898. They named the element polonium after Marie's native country of Poland. They also detected the presence of another radioactive material in the pitchblende and called that radium. In 1902, the Curies announced that they had produced a deuterium of pure radium, demonstrating its existence as a unique chemical element. In 1903, Curie received the Nobel Prize in Physics along with her husband and Henri Becquerel. Maybe I should just stop trying. For their work on radioactivity. And in 1911, Curie won her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry for her discovery of radium and polonium. So, I mean, she basically ate bread and tea for a long time, and then she got like 2 degrees, and then she got 2 Nobel Prizes. Like, that's incredible. So yeah, good to know. Thank you for listening. Welcome back. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the challenges you faced. So tell me, you mentioned about moving here from Bangladesh in the 5th grade, and then I imagine you must have gone to some type of like super high school to even have astrophysics as an option. So how was there, I mean, 5th grade to high school is like a little bit of a difference. So like, did that, like, moving from Bangladesh affect you in any way, or?
So, I mean, yeah, there's always, culture shock to get over. So, I mean, but I would say I didn't have to do a lot of work. Mm-hmm. I was lucky enough in Bangladesh, well, I would say privileged in Bangladesh, enough to go to kind of like a private English medium school. Mm-hmm. My family is not rich, by the way. It's like
I love that you had to clarify. Felt like you had to clarify.
Just saying.
The
But
disclaimer.
my family valued education a lot. My dad is an engineer. We were middle class, so he invested in my and my brother's education. So he put us in kind of English medium school, which basically you just speak English in every class. So I knew how to speak English. And I'm pretty sure it's true for every Asian country, but around that time, like 5th grade, usually Asian kids and Asian education is higher than U.S. education. Like, you're advanced in math and science, at least math and science.
No, like, I feel like, honestly, I think it's the same in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or at least it definitely was in our elementary school education, because my brother was learning stuff about the periodic table in the 5th grade.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah. I feel like, up until high school, other countries, I would say, are advanced in math and science. So, I joined. There was some, like, a little bit of accent, because I did learn in British English. That was kind of weird, it's getting over, like, rubber. I would call eraser rubber and stuff like that. And
I remember that my first year here.
yeah, stuff like that, But... yeah, and I never saw so many international students. I grew like it was in New York, right? So that was a shock for me. It's like I only saw brown people around me.
Yeah.
So, but they were really nice to, hold my hand and kind of introduce me to how to go about American school and whatnot. So I wouldn't say I struggled a lot. To be honest, but I would say my main struggle was freshman year here in college.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the shock, like not only do you have more freedom, but your life is harder. So how do you manage?
But also it's like, I don't know, it's just like so different here. I feel like
I thought I could just do that like in high school and middle school, like study the day before and just get A's. That was my impression, because in the beginning, like, it's like looking at the math problems and whatnot, and I can do it. Like, the professor would write on the board, like, I understand that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like, you have to you have to practice it. So I kind of screwed that up. So my first semester, I got a lot of B's and C's. And I took my first coding class, MATLAB, which, to be honest, no one considers it coding.
Right.
It's not even a language. So,
it's engineering software.
Yeah.
As the CS majors will make sure to tell you.
Sorry, CS majors. But that was my intro to coding, and it's a different way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
So trying to wrap that around, and as you know, our homeworks were hella long. And they were due end of every week, right? So, and just trying to wrap around that. So that was kind of a struggle for me. Yeah.
The time management is tough.
Learning that, like, because I would, honestly, like, the reason why I wouldn't, other than, like, thinking, oh, this is easy, I don't need to practice, like, trying to sleep, use my breaks to, like, sleep instead of kind of going over it.
But sleep is important. Sleep is...
No, I mean, like...
I love sleep.
Yeah, I mean,
like... my favorite thing.
If my class was at 8 a.m. class and I had, like, a 3-hour break, I would go to my dorm and sleep for 3 hours. Where I could have finished my homework or something. The time management was a thing.
So what's a piece of advice you would give to incoming freshmen? Because we know that, I mean, everyone warns us about how freshman year is going to be a big change, and yet every single year, millions of new incoming freshmen fall into the same trap. So what is one big piece of advice that you would give?
Okay, so in time management for sure is definitely. But the other thing at least at Georgia Tech, you think you're smart. You're right. You think you're top of the class. Why you got into the school or whatever, good colleges top ranked colleges that people get into. But you have to understand everyone here is smart.
Yeah.
Everyone here is
that was definitely
the top
an adjustment
too. It's not about competition, but it's just everyone is putting that much effort into it, and you shouldn't think that it should be easy.
Yeah.
So the tests are going to be harder. Don't cry over not getting 90% on your grade. That's very rare, honestly.
Yeah. And honestly, there are some classes that you can get an A with like a 60. So
yeah.
the curve is still real.
Yeah. Be prepared to get, 60s and failing grades. Yeah.
So what about being a woman in aerospace engineering? Like, I can't imagine there are too many of those. Did that impact your interactions in any way, or like your research, like interacting with group members or group projects or professors or even industry? Like, has being a woman affected your experience, either good or bad, in any way?
I think for most of my class, it would be 50 people class, or some classes were 100. If it was 50, there were maybe 2 or 3 girls, including me. 100, maybe 5 girls. But now it increased. I've seen that year
it's
by
year. It's
year.
a lot more popular for sure. More and more women have gotten into the aerospace program.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, for me, I had this impression that if I didn't dress like a tomboy, no one would take me seriously. I'm not blaming or
it's just no, it's a mindset. It's like something about I guess the community that we're in.
It's like you see your environment, you kind of want to fit in. Yeah, you don't want to be the odd one out, right?
So has that changed, or has that changed?
That has changed a little bit. Mm-hmm. I would say because Lockheed has, women in engineer who, I think it might be the location. Dallas is pretty I would say that people like to dress up a little bit. Mm-hmm. So girls put some, they will come in dressed up. Wear a dress or something, but I did the research job here throughout all my years here, and you're going to a lab. Everyone's wearing a jeans and a t-shirt, or a polo. So I definitely didn't feel comfortable wearing anything other than that. So, but I mean. Other than that, there wasn't any other struggle in terms of gender difference. Mm-hmm. All my guy friends, which is the majority of them, since they're all they're all in aerospace, majority boys, guys. They always helped me out, and they never thought that I lacked knowledge to help them out. They would come ask me hey, how did you do this problem, blah blah blah. So they never thought any less of me, so that's great.
That's really good. I love that. So what about aerospace engineers or people who are just interested in space or planes and might be thinking about aerospace engineering? General advice of figuring out where they want to go, because you're also figuring out where you want to go, so what are tips that you have learned along this journey that you would give to other people?
So a lot, aerospace, like I said, is very broad. I would try to do maybe research around and see what you like specifically. That's what I did. I kind of hopped around different labs. So I worked in combustion lab, and then I worked in the ASDL aerospace.
Tell us more about that. What does that mean?
I forgot what ASDL
excuse me, the Aerospace Systems Design Lab.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So, it works with, ASDL does research on systems, and systems can mean a lot of things. It could be control system.
Yeah.
It could be an overall fuel system or something like that. So, different parts of it, kind of like learning how to optimize a certain system. Basically, that's their goal. And then I also worked, it's the lab next to it, in combustion lab. They're kind of the ME department of combustion lab.
Okay.
So I worked there, and so I was trying to figure out what area I wanted to be. And the ME department did fluid dynamics, so because I was interested in CFD area as well, computational fluid dynamics.
Yeah, so would you say the breadth of knowledge is important to at least understand a little bit about everything so you kind of get to know what you like? Is that important?
Yeah, I mean, so classes are great, aerospace program, it covers pretty much most of the breadth of knowledge that you can get. But classes versus real life projects are very different.
Yeah.
So I would say that's a good way of getting to know different parts areas of aerospace, and obviously co-oping internship if you can get it. A lot of people struggle with it, but that was my way in. Started with research. And projects and clubs like Design Build Fly, different schools might have different things, but it was a fun. I learned a lot of things, kind of designing an aircraft from scratch. So,
which is once again so incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
But
I love how you're just casually talking about design an aircraft from scratch. Like, okay.
I've been doing this for years, so it kind of like first in the beginning it was like, oh great, but then after a couple of years I got like whatever. I've done this several times. So.
Yeah, I think part of it is at the beginning it's always overwhelming because at the beginning you kind of see the finished product and you have no idea how to get from point A to point B. But as you progress through the years, like that fog kind of starts to clear and you can see the path.
Yeah. And if you can, definitely get a mentor. That's always great. I didn't have an official mentor, but I knew someone who was in a higher class than me, and if I had any question, I always asked her, how would you go about this problem in terms of like life problems and career problems and whatnot. So definitely know someone who can mentor you if you have any questions.
Okay, awesome. I want to thank you both so much for coming
and
for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
To you all listening, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You can also check us out on our website, www.thesteministas.com. That's www.thesteministas.com.